Om Sahana Vavadu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad-vyapta Dehaya Murtaye Namaha. Gukarastvandhakaro Vai Rukarastan-nivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvad Gururitya Vidhiyate. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Read from the verse number 13. Laya vinashane ubhayrodhane Laya gatam punar bhavati nomritam Pranabandhana lina manasam Ekachintana nashametyada. Laya vinashane ubhayrodhane. Ubhayrodhane, there are two forms of rodhana or control of the mind, two stages, laya and vinasha. Laya means merger or absorption, vinasha means destruction. Although we should understand the word destruction in the sense in which is meant, not physical destruction of the mind, but the ignorance of the mind. Whatever that causes a disturbance to the abiding of the knowledge. What we want is abidance in knowledge. And that requires freedom from all obstacles. Even Lord Krishna also says, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanye vatmana tushtaha sthita prajnistadochyade. When one becomes free from all desires. So there the obstacle is said to be in the form of desire. So desire, vasana is the state, subtle state of desire. So prajahati yada kaman, when prakarshena jahati, when one very well gives up the desire. What is meant by very well giving up desire is the desire is given up not to return. There also it is pointed out how in the deep sleep state all the desires are given up. But when you wake up, the desires appear again. That is because the cause of desire is still there. And so, prajahati, prakarshena jahati, when one gives up the desires along with its cause, which is this ignorance, of course, but which is vasana. Ignorance has to go along with that vasanas, meaning those tendencies, potential tendencies, that also has to go. And so, in short, we have to bring about a state of mind, which technically is called the distraction of mind. But in practical terms, means a mind free from any distracting potential. And vasana is the distracting potential. Vasana results into reactions. It results into impulses, and they are a disturbance. See, Yoga Shastra says that they talk about 5 states of mind. Kshiptam, Mudham, Vikshiptam, Ekagram, Niruddham. All Sanskrit words. Kshiptam, which is thrown away, totally extrovert. Under the influence of Rajas or Raga Dvesha, mind is extrovert. It is called Kshiptam. Mudham, it is deluded. Under the influence of Tamas, the mind is sleepy, or dull. It is called Mudham, incapable of doing anything. Vikshiptam, scattered. Next to the mind is scattered. Sometimes extrovert, sometimes inward looking. Sometimes the mind is able to meditate, sometimes it gets distracted. This is called Kshiptam, scattered state of mind. Then Ekagram, single pointed. And Niruddham. So Ekagram means when the mind enjoys Ekagrata, single pointedness. When there is constantly a flow of thought. Yesterday we said Sajatya Vritti Pravaha, a flow of the thought of the same kind. So when that can be maintained for a period of time, that state is called Ekagrata. Niruddha. Niruddha means completely stop when no thoughts arise. So the last two, Ekagrata, Ekagram and Niruddham, is what are the desirable states. When the mind is able to maintain the same thought flow. And ultimately, the mind grows to a point where it becomes free from any thoughts at all. So that Ekagram, concentrated, focused, single-pointed, is called Savikalpa Samadhi. Samadhi means with the Vikalpa or the duality of the meditator and meditated. Slight duality remains. And Nivrikalpa or Sampagnata Samadhi, when that duality also is not there. So, they call Sampragnata Samadhi. Dhyakar Vritti Matram Asyam Avasthayam Pratibhasate. In what they call Sampragnata Samadhi, all there is the object of meditation. The meditator also is not there. In what they call Asampragnata Samadhi, even the object of meditation also is not there. So, they say that in that state of Asampragnata Samadhi, when there is absence of both the meditator and the meditated, that is when the realization takes place, which when the Purusha Prakriti Viveka, the separated, because no Prakriti now, no mind, all this Purusha or consciousness, and thus one recognizes oneself as consciousness. So we have our own views about this, but this is what the Yoga Shastra aims at. For controlling the mind, the scriptures also talk about some tricks, not tricks, but some methods. Adhyatma vidyadigama sadhu sangama evacha vasanasam parityagah pranaspanna nirodhanam etastaha yuktah pushtaha santititya chitta jayakila. As I said, for a text called Yoga Vasishtha. For controlling the mind, the first is Adhyatma Vidya Adhigama, self-knowledge. So when you know the self as one without a second, the non-self, drishya, object, thought does not remain, and therefore you are abiding in the self. If that does not happen, meaning that even in spite of receiving instruction, this knowledge does not take place, sadhu sangama evacha, then company of the sadhu, of the sages, meaning that where you keep on receiving the same teaching with the same atmosphere, meaning you should keep on exposing yourself to the teaching and study and contemplation. If that also cannot be done, then vasana samparityagaha. Some people, they are so proud of their own scholarship that they don't think that they need anybody's instruction. So sadhu sangama, they don't go even to other learned people. So what to do with them? Vasana samparityagaha and pranaspanda nirodhanam. Pranaspanda nirodhanam. For them, pranayama. So for them, the controlling of the mind is the way. So self-knowledge is the best. And pranayama, meaning controlling the mind, is the last one. So as a result of accomplishing this vasanakshaya and manonashaya, the exhaustion of vasanas and the so-called destruction of mind, as we discussed in the morning. Now, that is the self-knowledge, abidance in a knowledge. What is the result of that? Result is, here is a yogi who is liberated while living. Jivan Mukti, or liberation while living, is the result of this yoga. The verse number 15 describes that. Nashta manasot krishta yogina krityamasti kim swasthitim yatah. Nashta manasa utkrishta yogina. One word. Nashta manasaha. Nashtam manasam yasya sa nashta manasaha. Meaning one is Bahuvri Samas. One whose mind is nashtam. The one whose mind is destroyed. Meaning one who has accomplished the manonashaya, vasanakshaya and manonashaya. One who has, as a result of a prolonged sadhana, where conscious attempt to remove the vasanas, the impulses, as we discussed in the morning by Pratipaksha Bhavana. Also constantly bringing the mind inward, releasing it from its fascination from the objects by seeing the defects in the sense pleasures. That's the Vairagya. So by the Abhyasa and Vairagya, one who is thus accomplished, the Vasanakshaya, being no more vasanas are there, no more mechanical or habitual patterns are there, Manonasha, no more now there is any extrovertedness of the mind. So put it this way, Manonasha, destruction of the mind, means destruction of the extrovertedness of the mind. The mind has a habit of running away. When does it do that? When it is under the influence of raga and dvesha, attachment and aversion. So attachment and aversion for the objects and things of the world are what pull the mind away from its object of meditation. Bhagavad Gita also says, Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramaseni haranti prasabam manaha. When these raga dveshas are there, a person is trying to concentrate his mind. And he knows everything. He knows how to concentrate the mind, what the methods are there. He is very sincerely trying that. And these raga dveshas, even as he is trying, even as he is watching, the raga dveshas pull his mind away from the object of meditation into the objects of the world. So these raga dveshas can be pretty powerful forces, and they make the mind extrovert. So one who has made the mind free from this raga dvesha, therefore mind on its own now no more runs away. To such an extent that normally these objects or things always create temptations in us. They create in me or they invoke in me a desire to enjoy them. So while breakfast, honey, what is this? Honey. Right away the honey creates in me a desire to enjoy it, So this is, honey has a hold on me that can create a desire to enjoy it. That this is how it is I in fact who make myself vulnerable. Honey is what it is, it doesn't do anything. It is my fascination for that which is what makes honey an instrument of pulling my mind away from myself. So even though I am eating other things, I keep on thinking of honey. How to eat this honey now? You can't add it on fruits, It's funny. I could not find a way of eating the honey, that's all. So I could not eat it. So that left in my mind, a sense of dissatisfaction, So that is the control that a thing like honey has over the mind, imagine. So the objects can create in us an urge to enjoy them. It's because of the fascination which is there in our mind. Different things will create that urge in different people. This chicken out there, nothing will happen to me. Fish out there, but then to somebody else, that chicken and fish may be attractive. So, what the particular likes and dislikes are there is all individual, unique to everybody. But that dislikes and dislikes are there, they draw the mind away from the extrovertedness. So, manonasha, destruction of mind, you can say, is the elimination of extrovertedness of the mind. And vasana kshaya, the exhaustion of all vasana, is the removal of the potential impulses within, impulse within and attraction outside. These two things can create problems. Anger can arise. This kind of things can arise. Jealousy, etc. can arise. They are all potentially there within me and they are the result of vasanas. And the fascination I have for the things, they are other obstacles which make my mind extrovert. Therefore, that also has to be done by vairagya. This also has to be done by abhyasa, pratipaksha bhavana. So, vasanakshaya and manonasha. Now, there is nothing that will be an obstacle to the abiding of the mind. When the mind thus becomes free from these two distracting factors, mind's own nature is only silence. If left to itself, mind will enjoy peace. Like nature of water is silence. If you throw some pebbles, then there will be, the waves in there, ripples in there. But if there is no disturbance, water by itself will be calm. Similarly, if no ripples, no pebbles are thrown in terms of raga, dvesha or impulses, then the mind is calm by its own nature. So thus our job is to remove what is unnatural so that the mind becomes naturally calm. And Yoga Shastra says that mind reveals the truth. We say that that mind alone is not enough. Eka chintanat nashametyadaha. But you also need to eka chintanam. Chintanam, contemplation upon ek or one. In that mind now, which is an abiding mind. Now that is a fit instrument for the contemplation upon one non-dual that you are. So in a mind like that, now you can contemplate Soham. I am that. Now this mind is very conducive for seeing the meaning of the statements. Yesterday there was a question, Swamiji, after listening to Vedanta for so many years, nothing seems to happen. But then what happened? We need the teaching of Vedanta, and we also need to cultivate a mind where the teaching reveals its meaning. So this is that mind. Now the words or the statements of Vedanta. Aham Brahma, I am Brahman. What is Brahman? Soham. The statements now, you contemplate upon them, they easily reveal their meaning as to what it means. What is meant by I being silence? What is meant by I being consciousness? Eka Chintanat. So by contemplation upon one, because as Vedanta reveals, the reality is one without a second. Chandogya Upanishad says, very famous passage, Sadeva Somya Idam Agrasit Ekameva Dvidiyam. That the teacher gives this, Upadesa teaching. That the teacher is the father and the disciple is the son. It used to be very common in the past. Even when they do Upanayana, meaning, they're giving the sacred thread, the father would give that mantra, the Gayatri mantra to the son. He becomes the teacher and the son becomes the disciple. Anyway, in Brahma Vidya also that existed. So says to the son, the disciple, hey, so good looking one, oh pleasing one. Every aspirant is good looking. What pleases the teacher may not be so much the features of the person as much as the love for knowledge. That commitment for knowledge, when the teacher sees there, he is mighty pleased. So, very often we find this address, Somya, Sadeva Somya, hey Somya, oh good looking one, oh pleasing one. This universe of names and forms, before its creation, was Sat, existence. Brahman, one without a second. Just as all these ornaments before their creation were gold, one without a second. Why do you say before creation? Because right now it looks like there are many ornaments. It looks like. So right now it looks like there are many names and forms, there is multiplicity. Although right now also all there is oneness. But it's difficult to see oneness when too many things are present. Therefore, agree, before the creation, before this diversity was created, what was is Sat, existence, Satchit Ananda. One without a second. That's all there is. What it means is that even now also, when you say that all the ornaments were gold, before their creation. What are they now? After creation also there are gold. What happens is, now you see gold also and names and forms also. So your mind is somewhat cluttered. Therefore, the mind is taken to a state where there is no names and forms. You can clearly see that gold. Now, when you have known what the gold is, then when that gold comes in the form of ornaments, you can recognize it. So then the ornaments will not create confusion in you because you know what gold is. You see that? That's all there is in ornament. There is nothing else. Meaning that in spite of the manyness or diversity of the ornaments, gold is one. Similarly, in spite of diversity of names and form, subject and object, sentient and insentient, what is one. One Sat, call it existence, call it Chit, call it awareness, call it Ananda, call it wholeness, happiness, fullness. That's all there is. Eka Chintana. So make the mind see this reality, that what is one, and that one is I, Soham. That one is I. Who am I? I am the illuminator of the silent mind. Who am I? The silent consciousness. That is the illuminator. That is the self-revealing principle. I am the consciousness, silence, self-revealing. And what is also, even the universe also is nothing but the same awareness manifest as names and forms. So what are thoughts? Thoughts are nothing but the same awareness manifest in names and forms. What's an object? Same thought manifest becomes just solidified. So awareness becomes solidified as thoughts, and thoughts become solidified as objects. This is Vedantic Prakriya. Because Vedanta explains as to how an object cannot be apart from the corresponding thought. For example, if there is an object such as a pot, it creates in my mind a thought of the shape of the pot. It's called pot thought, a tree thought, a table thought, a chair thought. Now, is it possible for us to remove chair from chair thought? So, chair and chair thought cannot be separated. What cannot be separated is one, understand? If there are two entities, you can separate them. But what cannot be separated must be one. Therefore, the object called chair, and the thought that is chair are not two things. You can say that the object that is chair is manifestation of the thought that is chair. How about thought and awareness? Is it possible that a thought can stand apart from awareness? You are aware of a thought. When can you be aware of the thought? When awareness is. Awareness illumines the thought. In our mind, we become aware of the thoughts arising one after the other. Swami had a very good thought, okay. Oh, I had a bad thought. But the point is that whatever the thought is, I am aware of that thought. How do I become aware? Because awareness illumines that thought. If there is an object in my hand, you become aware of that object because this object is illumined by light. That's how you can see it. We don't take notice of the light, of course. We only note this glasses or this case, but not the light that illumines that case. Similarly, our attention is on the thought, not the awareness that illumines the thought. Awareness is like the light that illumines the thought. Thought is that which illumines the object. So everything is illumined by awareness. Awareness first illumines the thought in turn illumines the world or object. So an object is not apart from the thought, a thought is not apart from the awareness. So what is awareness? Awareness first manifesting as thought and subsequently manifesting as object. So physics tells us that what we call tangible matter is nothing but the waves of energy. We would say that energy also is nothing but the wave of consciousness. Now, the rules of physics will not allow them to go beyond energy because there are certain rules. They are based on perception and inference. So, at the most, energy also is an inferred entity. By the way, nobody sees energy, but you infer. But we are not dependent upon only inference. We have the basis of scriptures. We look upon that as pramanam. And it says that Sadeva Soumya, the Sat or Chit alone is reality. So we say that awareness manifests as energy, energy manifests as matter. What is one? They say what is one energy. We say what is one awareness. Eka Chintanat, contemplation upon one. Different ways we can do. But that mind sees that what is one awareness, oneself. One I. Understand that I is not I which is opposed to you. Even though Vedanta says what is I, that I, right now when I use the pronoun I, it does not include you. But that I is not awareness. The I that does not exclude anything. All inclusive I. I that is not opposed to anything. Right now the I is opposed to you. Yushmat asmat pratyaya gocharayo. Shankaracharya says that this cognition of you and I, mutually exclusive. Where you is, I is not, I is the you is not. So I that I know today is that which excludes you. But what's the true nature of the I? In reality, I am that I that does not exclude anything, that is all inclusive. Today, why do I think I exclude you? Because that I is confined to this one body-mind complex, because of identification. When that identification is not, I is released from its notional limitation. And now, my whole perception of I changes. So far I thought I was a limited thing. Now I see I is awareness. So no individuality remains. Understand? So I am Brahman, when it says I am Brahman, it's not this ego that is Brahman. But the true nature of ego, which is I awareness, that is Brahman. Eka Chintana. In this manner, when this Chintana, this contemplation is carried out on the reality which is one without a second, then no ignorance remains. Nasametyada, the mind becomes destroyed. Destroyed means that ignorance of the mind becomes destroyed. The distraction of the mind is no more there. So how from laya to vinasha, from merger of the mind to the destruction of the mind. Destruction of the mind, Ramana Maharshi says, by the contemplation of one mind. So prana bandhana leena manasam, the mind which has gained a state of laya or merger or absorption by the control of breath, meaning by the prakriya of yoga, eka chintanat, in that mind now, when you have the contemplation of one, and ignorance, whatever remnants of ignorance are there, they get destroyed. One becomes liberated. And so, Nashtamana Utkrishta Yogina. Utkrishta Yogi, the most exalted yogi. Because there are less exalted yogis also. Who is the most exalted yogi? One who is accomplished the Vasanaksha and Manonasha. One is gone all the way by removing all the Vasanas and doing all the extrovertedness. One has attained a mind which is free from every obstacle. In which mind now there is this enlightenment or the knowledge of the self, knowledge of one reality. So Utkrishta is most exalted. As compared to other yogis who have not accomplished this much, this yogi is the most exalted. For that one, Ramana Maharshi says, Krutyamastikam swasthitim yataha. You know what is yataha? Yataha tataha. No, I'm misguiding you. Not misguiding you, but sort of, throwing you off. It is not yataha tataha. Yata is the form of yat, which is present participle, of the root ya, means to go. And so, yataha, one who has gone, one who has reached. Swasthitim yataha. Swasthitim, sthiti means abidance. So means the self. One who has attained the abidance in the self. The self happens to be one without a second. So one who has attained abidance in the self, in the knowledge of the self. Krutyamastikam. So this is the description of a wise person who is liberated while living. This is called moksha. So moksha, understand, is not any description of a physical thing or a physical place or something like that. It is only the enlightened state of the mind. An ignorant mind is a bound mind. An enlightened mind is a liberated mind. Swasthitim yataha. For this exalted yogi who has now attained an abidance in his own self, Krutyamastikam krutyam. Krutyam means that which is to be done. Krutyam. Same as kartavyam. So krutyam. Now, does anything remain for this yogi which he has to do? Asking a question. It's not a question. An answer is contained in that question. No. Meaning that no kartavya, no duty remains for this person. Krutya can be called duty. What is duty? Obligatory duty. What is krutya or kartavya? Obligatory duty. An action that you are obliged to perform. Now this is strictly Vedic. The Vedas enjoin upon a person various duties. That this is your duty, this is what you are expected to do. They command you to do this and do that. This idea of duty, we have discussed it earlier also in the last session. But anyway, just to remind you, the idea of duty is a unique idea in the Vedas. And that arises on account of, it's called obligatory duty, because Vedas draw our attention to the fact that you are already obliged. That you are what you are on account of the contribution of the whole world around you. That your parents have given you this body and then nurtured it, nourished it, you are obliged to them. The teachers and sages have given this knowledge in terms of, from time beginning, whole storehouse of knowledge from which you are drawing freely, you are obliged to them. You should have gratitude for them. The devatas or deities in the form of sun and moon, they are all constantly serving you. Obliged to them. Other members of society, like a farmer, like a merchant, like a postman, like a number of people, you are a beneficiary of what they do also. And the environment around you, even the trees give you oxygen and take away your carbon dioxide. The trees, the plants, the insects, animals, all of these have direct or indirect contribution in your life. Therefore, you are obliged to them also. Therefore, you must return the favor. Favor is done to you, it's your duty to return the favor. You are indebted. So, human being is born indebted. And as we live, we continue to pile up the debt. So our life should be an expression of returning the debt, compensating for the debt. So that an action performed with this understanding that I am simply returning the favor which already done to me. That spirit is called duty. Action done with that spirit is called duty. Kartavya in Sanskrit. Or krutya. Something that has to be. I mean, I'm obliged to do that. I can't escape it. They say that if you escape your duty, you escape. Suppose I borrowed money from you and I don't pay back to you. I'm accountable. So I'm receiving the favor from the whole world. I simply swallow it and consume it without contributing in return. I'm a thief, Lord Krishna says. And therefore, you cannot escape your duty as long as you're alive. So duty is a bondage. See, duty means something you have to do. Like a mother, even sitting here, feels, my child is this and my son is this and my husband is this and I have to do this and I have to. So many things are there which are to be done. At least in the Vedic times, the idea of duty was a very strong idea. Everybody felt duty bound. And if you failed to perform your duty, there was a sense of guilt. So, everybody should perform duty. And duty is bondage because you are bound by that. As long as there is duty, you are not free. Because you have to do something. I must do something for my parents. I must do something for my teachers. I must do something for the devatas. I must do something for the society. I must do something for the environment. That's what they say you should do. It's an eco-friendly culture. But every human being is obliged to environment. He must contribute something to the well-being of environment, well-being of the society, well-being of devatas, well-being of parents and ancestors, and well-being of teachers and sages. You make your offerings, contributions. So as long as there is this duty or kartavya, so long a person is not free. So one way of describing moksha or freedom is freedom from duty. That now this wise person has no duty. There is no pressure on him that he has to do this. He is free from that. What do you mean, Swamiji? The wise person does not breathe air anymore? See, you are using sunlight, you're breathing air, you're drinking water, you're walking on earth, you are taking advantage of the nature, and you must have a return the favor, should you not? Answer is no. He is no more drawing anything because he is free from sense of individuality. He is not to worship, no sense of individuality, and therefore he does not consume anything. A wise person does not consume anything. Even when his body appears to be consumed, he does not consume anything because he is not identified with the body. If you do not consume anything, you need not contribute anything. So this is one way of describing freedom. Freedom from duty. Krityamastakam, Brahma says, is there any duty now he has? No, there is no duty. Even scriptures also cannot compel him to do this and not do that. He is even out of bounds as far as the scriptural injunctions are concerned. He has transcended that also. This is a way of describing freedom of the mind. That does not mean that this person does not do anything. That person may do 5 times and 10 times what we do. That's a different matter. But that's a choice. When there is duty, there is no choice. You have to do. He has choice whether to do or not to do. Therefore, wise persons come in all descriptions. Some are extremely busy, some do nothing. Ramana Maharshi himself also did nothing, more or less. Sat in one place. And there can be a Shankaracharya who goes round and round, But as far as wisdom is concerned, they're all one. What they do and what they do not do is determined by prarabdha, by destiny. Meaning that a wise person now is totally under the control of destiny. He has no free will. Meaning that he is free from the need to exercise free will. We exercise free will, make choices because we have needs to fulfill. But this knowledge enables you to see that you are already fulfilled. A wise person is described in Yoga Vasishtha in this famous verse. Antah purnaha bahishpurnaha purnakumbha ivarnave antah shunyaha bahishunyaha shunyakumbha ivambare. A kumbha means a pot. If a pot is submerged in water, like in a lake, antah purnaha bahishpurnaha, that pot is filled inside as well as outside. A pot submerged in water in a lake is full inside and full outside. A wise person also is full within and full without. Meaning that he sees himself as Brahman and sees everything else as Brahman. Understand? He sees himself as limitless, and it's not that I am limitless and you are limited. Everything, everybody and everything is limitless, inside and outside. Antashunya, Bahishunyaha is empty inside and empty outside. Another example. Like a pot in the space. A pot in the space is empty within and empty without. Thus, a yogi or a wise person is empty within and empty without. What is empty within? No vasanas, no impulses, no pressure. He is free from all vasanas, pressure, ignorance. Empty within, empty without. He is not in any way bound by what is outside him, not bound by what is within him. And thus, the freedom of a wise person is described in this way, is complete. There is no lack, there is no want, and therefore there is no desire emerging from lack or want. There can be a desire in the wise person also, but not for happiness, out of happiness. The wise person now has no need, having discovered that I am full, I am complete, free from all lack. So there is nothing else. As long as I feel lacking and wanting and need to do something to become free from the lack or want, I change the world around me, I change myself, all kinds of things we do, all actions are meant for changing things. He is free from need to change. No need to change himself, no need to change the world. Atmaneva Atmana Tushtaha. He is completely satisfied with himself, by himself. And when a person is satisfied with the self, that person is also satisfied with everybody else. That's an amazing thing. To be satisfied with the world, all we need to do is to be satisfied with ourselves. Vedanta says, to know the world, all you need to do is to know yourself. To love the world, all you need to do is to love yourself. To achieve the world, all you need to do is to achieve yourself. because you are everything. Yad jnatva punarvaham, Lord Krishna says that once you gain the knowledge, nothing remains to be gained. Yan labdhva cha param labham manyate nadikam tatah. Gaining which now the wise person does not see anything greater to be achieved or to be accomplished. The Bhagavad Gita also compares a wise person with the ocean. Just as the ocean is not in any way, does not suffer any distortion on account of the rivers bringing water to the ocean. Ocean doesn't swell. Ocean abides in its own fullness. The fullness of the ocean does not depend upon the rivers bringing water or not bringing water. Achala pratishtam, apuryamanam achala pratishtam. The ocean abides in its own fullness. Fullness is the nature of ocean. So if all the rivers bring water, does not create any distortion, vikara in the ocean. Doesn't create a reaction, I'm bigger than what I was. If the rivers stop bringing water, again no distortion, I am now reduced from what I was. Because rivers get their water from the ocean anyway. And therefore, ocean is full in itself. Rivers can bring water. It is an object. It doesn't invite the rivers to bring water. They bring them on their own. If they don't, that also is okay. No pressure on anybody. Giving total freedom. Enjoying freedom. Giving total freedom. Totally happy with himself. Never happy with what is. Atmaniva atmanatushta. So when I am happy with myself, no need to change myself. Happy with the world, no need to change the world. Then where is the question of action? Action is meant for changing something. And it is something within me that forces me to act, really. As long as I feel a lack or want or dissatisfaction within me, so long that pressurizes me to do something to become free from that lack or want. If I feel that by changing the world, I'll become free from lack or want, I want to change the world. But when that lack or want is not there, no need to change myself, no need to change the world, no need to perform any action. So there are many who did not do anything. There were and there must be. Like in Bhagavatam, there is the teacher of Bhagavata, his name was Shukadevji. He was a Avadhuta, had no even identification in his body. Son of Vedavyasa. You know Vedavyasa, all Vedantins know. The one who composed, the writer of Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutra, wise man. But his son exceeded even him. So this son was in the womb of the mother, didn't want to come out. If I come out, then I will fall in samsara, ocean of samsara. I will not come out. So he was assured that nothing will happen to you. So he came out after 16 years. He was 16 when he was born. And right away he walked away from his father was, chasing, running after him. Oh my son, putra, putra, oh son. Doesn't even bother. In his place, the trees replied, because he saw himself as the self of all. So no separatedness even from trees. So trees replied the father, not he. Taravo Veneduhu. But anyway, this Sukadevji, this son, young man, handsome, he's just walking. There's a lake on the way where some themselves from heaven, they were taking baths. He walks. Nothing happened to them. and his old father is chasing him. He walks, and then those ladies covered themselves. So father says, hey, wait a minute, I'm an old man. How come you are covering yourself when I am going and my young son went and you did not even cover yourself, did not feel any, any hesitation at all? He says, you see the difference between a man and woman, your son does not see. So wise people are described in many, many ways. Lord Krishna also is a wise person, having 16,108 consorts. Can you imagine that? He is also wise. Krishna Bhogi, Shuko Yogi. Krishna is Bhogi. Bhogi means what? Immersed in pleasure. Shuko Yogi. The Shukadev I just talked about is a yogi. Drupau Janaka Raghavau. King Janaka also is said to be a wise person, but he was an emperor. So was Lord Rama. Karmanistha, Vasishtadhyaha, sage Vasishtha, and other sages also were wise, but they were always engaged in performing the rituals and things. So outwardly they all look different. But Sarvete Jnaniyas Samaha, as far as knowledge is concerned, all of them are equal, similar. Meaning that in what form a wise person comes cannot be said. Wise person cannot be described by any external characteristics. Even though Arjuna asks what are the characteristics of a wise person, Lord Krishna describes only his internal characteristic. Sukrityamastikam swasthitim yataha. For the one who's attained his abidance in nature, one is free, does anything remain to be done? Nothing remains to be done. So this is a description of freedom. Understand? There are many ways to describe freedom. One way to describe freedom is freedom from all pressure, all compulsion. An ignorant person has no freedom not to do. Not to do something requires freedom. Ignorant person does not have freedom not to do something because his inner discomfort pressurizes him to do something. So Lord Krishna says that an ignorant person cannot sit quietly even for a moment, because the restlessness or discomfort within him forces him to do something. Therefore, not to do something requires a lot of growth to become free from the... So doing is a need. We do things out of need. Even if nobody obliges me, still I will keep on doing various things because it is my need to become free from a sense of lack or want. As long as I am feeling that, my mind will pressurize me to do something to become free from lack or want. When that is not there, there is no internal pressure. Then there is no external pressure. World also cannot now control him because world controls me because of my needs. If I have no need, no demand, no expectation, the world also has no control over me. Regardless of where this person is, he can be in the prison also, he can be anywhere. He is still free. Because freedom is a state of mind and bondage also is a state of mind. So in this Krutyamastikam, does something remain to be done for this wise person, for the yogi? No. So that is one way of describing freedom or moksha. Freedom from having to do, not freedom from doing. He can do. He is an instrument in the hand of Ishvara, therefore Ishvara may make him do things, He does not exercise free will. Therefore his free will is totally surrendered to the will of Ishvara. And whatever Ishvara wants him to do, he does. Doesn't resist. So you may find this person very active, but there is no compulsion. There is no inner pressure, nor any external pressure. It's all expression of freedom. For the ignorant person, what that person does is an expression of bondage. Very evident from what we do is very clear that this person wants something. He needs something. Wise person does something. Not for freedom, out of freedom. So there is a choice not to do. As he said, he is free from the need to exercise free will. So free will is an expression of bondage. And what is freedom? The freedom from the need to exercise free will. As long as free will is there, something remains to be done. He has nothing to accomplish, nothing to lose, nothing to gain. So thus this yoga, Ramana Maharshi says that yoga also produces wisdom and Jivan Mukti or liberation while living. So here we conclude our text. We will continue next time. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.